In this video, I'm going to show you the perfect settings to get way more frames in Call of Duty Vanguard. Now, before I tweaked my settings, I was getting an average of 90 FPS. After I tweaked my settings, I was getting about 250 FPS, which is completely insane, and that's more than anybody needs. With that said, let me show you the settings that I've changed to obtain this level of frame rate. So when you're on your quality preset, you want to leave that on custom. Render resolution, set that to 100. Your dynamic resolution, make sure that's off. This will cause your game to literally look like a blur if it's on, and you won't be able to see any opponents. So you will be getting more frames, but you literally cannot see anything. Now, when you're on your texture resolution, I recommend putting this on medium or high. I know what you're thinking. I should put this on low if I'm trying to get more frames. Yes, but it doesn't work like that because this game is CPU bound, which means it wants to use your CPU. But that's stupid because your graphics card will give you more frames. So by leaving this on medium or high, it's telling your PC, it's like, oh, your CPU can't really lift that much weight, but your graphics card is an absolute beast and he goes to the gym every day, so he's going to get you way more frames. So leave this on medium or high. Trust me on that. Texture filtering, anastrophic, put that on very low. This will get you about 40 extra frames because that's what it got from me. Make sure it's on very low. Then when it comes to your particle quality level, now this varies depending on what type of graphics card you have. Now, you might experiencing hitching, okay? When I had this on low, because I was trying to get more frames, I was experiencing hitching. The game was kind of stuttering every time an explosion went off. And I put that to high, and it fixed it. There was no drop in frames. Its effect on VRAM is low. That's what it says behind my face cam where you can't see it. And again, with particle resolution, I had this on high, and it was causing a little kind of hitch. So I dropped it to low, and I fixed it. I know that kind of seems a bit, biodiversity. So for bullet impact and sprays, I recommend everybody to put this to on. If not, you won't be able to see bullets whizzing through the air coming at you. So therefore, you won't know where your opponents are if you can't see bullets. Just put it on. Trust me, if you don't understand what I'm saying, just put it on. Every pro has it on, so that should speak for itself. Shader quality, everybody should put this to high. This should not be on low. Everybody should put this to high. Full stop. Now, if you do have a shit PC and it's barely running the game, try it on low. But for everybody that currently is playing on a desktop that's built for gaming, put it on high. Tessellation, make sure this is off because it's going to drastically improve your frame rates. This will basically smooth out the ground. It will stop kind of 3D things that don't need to be 3D. For example, the ground might be all bumpy. It will just smoothen it out and make it look flat, and it will drastically improve your frame rate. So I recommend putting it off. If you do want a bit more texture on the ground, put it to nearby only. That's the only recommendation I'm giving, but for me, I've played with it off and I barely even noticed it. It's literally just the quality of the ground. That's all it is, and you barely look at the ground. You're always looking ahead of you or above. Level of distance range. I have this on standard, and this basically just means the quality of certain objects depending on how far they are away. So I've just put mine on standard. I don't want it to be long, so that means I'm going to lose frame rates because it's maintaining the quality of certain objects that are super far away. And I don't want this on short because it's a very fine line between close and far away. So I just put this on standard. This is what I recommend everybody to do. Again, if it is affecting your frames, drop it to low. Moving on though. So this next setting is called level of detail distance range. This is very confusing to some people, so I'm just going to explain it very quickly. Put it on standard. So right now you can see I don't go to high. It actually changes to long. So when this is on long, what it's doing is it's kind of rendering stuff that's very far away, and if you put this on short, it's only rendering things that are very close to you. So you obviously just want it in between. Put it on standard. Now here is where you can pick up a free few frames. So both of these go hand in hand: nearby level of detail and distant level of detail. I recommend putting distant level of detail on low, and I also recommend putting that nearby level of detail on low if you're trying to get more frames. For my case, I'm putting it on high because I do want a bit more quality. Again, I'm a content creator, so I need that extra bit of quality. But if you really are trying to scrape frames, put this on low. Now, like I said, I was able to scrape 250 FPS with this on high. And for anybody wondering, just in case you might have a similar graphics card, I'm on a 2080 Super with no overclock. So this will drastically help your frames by putting the far one on low and the first one on low. But, I don't want it on low. Then we have your cluttered draw distance and your volumetric quality level. Put both of these on low. Your clutter draw distance basically just means clutter, like literally objects that's on the ground, like rocks and just clutter, literal just clutter, and boxes and stuff like that. You want them to be on low. You want them to be rendered in only when they're close to you. Your volumetric quality level, put this on low. This is just the detail of light rays that come through. This is not ray tracing, so just put it on low. It's literally the setting says set the detail level of lighting, fog, and clouds. Clouds, bro. Are you going to be looking at the clouds? No, put this on low, trust me. Now, when it comes to shadow and lighting, this is where you want to kind of be very careful, and this is all GPU dependent. Shadows do affect your frames the most. So generally, a general rule of thumb is just to put everything to low. Now, obviously, I have tweaked some things, and some things here are on high, so I'm going to explain it as quickly as I can. Screen space shadows, put this to off. All this means is that objects will have their own shadows. You do not want that. You want buildings to have shadows, but let's say a box within a building or a chair within a building has its shadow. You don't want that, okay? You don't want that, so you want to put that to off. Your shadow map resolution, I've put this to very low, and it has got me a lot more frames. Now, sun shadow cascaders, I don't even know how to display that, but just put it to low, okay? Trust me, it's just the detail of shadows that the sun makes, basically. So your cache sun shadows and your cache spot shadows, these are kind of weird, okay? But they both affect your VRAM on a high level. I'm just going to read out what it says. So this says, sunlight shadows can be stored in cache to speed up rendering for future frames. However, this setting will use memory RAM when turned on. So I would actually recommend for most people to experiment with it. Put it on, put it off. Currently right now, I'm running it off. But with the next one, the cache spot shadows, I have actually set it to on. And I'll read out what this says. It says, spot shadows can be stored in cache to speed up rendering of future frames. However, this setting will use RAM. It's the same thing. It's just for a different type of shadow. Now, I was able to put this one on and not get stutters, where when I had this on, I was getting stutters. So off and on, or on and on, off and off. It's up to you. Experiment. It all depends on how much VRAM you have. Both of them on, in theory, will give you more frames. But I did not have the VRAM to put both of them on, so I was only able to choose one. Now, spot cache size, it says set the cache size of spotlight shadows. I have mine on high. Most people should put this on very low. I'm actually tweaking mine to put it on very low because it's just a cache. Basically means it's the amount of RAM you're allowing for the shadow quality. So you don't want your shadow quality to be high. You want it to be low. So I'm tweaking mine to low right now. Particle lighting, I have this set to high. You can put this to medium or high. I do not recommend going ultra. This will affect your frame rate a lot. I'm going to actually stick mine on medium as well. Ambient Inclusion, put that to off. To show more, make sure you have the GTAO quality on low, because again, these are to do with shadows. You want shadows typically on as low as possible because they're going to affect your frame rate a lot. Now, when you go down to screen space reflection, I recommend putting this to low or off. Off will get you more frames. Low will make it look a little bit better for a little performance cost, but if you have no care in the world for what the game looks like, just put it to low. All this means that if there's a puddle on the ground, it will have a bit of a glisten or a bit of a light reflection off it. By putting it to off, basically means that the puddle will be like a matte color. It won't have a shine. Everything will be matte. It won't be reflecting anything. It does make the game look a bit darker. It does actually affect your whole like coordination, because if you have this set to, let's say, something like medium, you might actually be able to see a player reflecting from a wall or reflecting from a glass pane or from a puddle. So it's kind of a weird one. It just depends on you. That's why I had it on low, because I might be able to see an opponent's reflection and it might actually help me in certain scenarios. So I do have it on low just so I get a bit of a glisten, a bit of a glow, but I don't want it completely off. Now, if you're trying for frames, definitely put it on off. NVIDIA DLS, this will get you more frames with it on, but it will make your game look terrible. It is on by default. I've put it to off because I don't need it, okay? Most people don't need it. Show more, this doesn't matter because it's off. Now here, your super resolution, make sure that's off. This will definitely affect your frame rate, okay? Now you can put this on performance, you can put this on balance, you can put this on quality. Leave it to off, okay? I know what you're thinking, put it on performance. No, just leave it off. Okay, Fidelity FX Cast. I'll read out what this is because I'm not sure, to be honest. I haven't read it yet. It says the sharpness of scene rendering is enhanced. It is recommended to turn off any sharpening techniques on your graphics card driver for this setting to work as experienced. So basically means turn it off. It's not worth putting on. Again, doesn't matter what's in the drop down because it's off. Now, anti-aliasing, you have to put on SMA T2X. Okay, you do not want to put this on Filmic SMA T2X. You want to put it on SMA because that way you're going to be using Filmic strength, and Filmic strength makes your game kind of look horrible in my opinion. On top of that, it does add a bit more input delay, not to do with frames. It just adds a bit more input delay because it's rendering a filmic strength. It's rendering a grain on top of everything. Anti-aliasing quality, make sure that is on low though. Okay, so it doesn't matter what your anti-aliasing, well, it does. You can put it on this, and then you can just set that to 0. It's the same thing. But I like SMA T2X, and I like putting this all the way to low, so it has a very minimum impact on my performance. Because you can't actually turn anti-aliasing off. Usually you're able to turn this off in games, apparently not in this new COD. Depth of field, put that to off. All that is literally when you ADS, it will apply a blur to everything around you. And you do not want that. You want to have clear pixels on everything around you, because if somebody's creeping in, you don't want everything to be blurred, you know. Then your VRAM usage, put this, it will be on 85% by default for most people, so put this up to 90%. This will basically tell Call of Duty, hey bro, use 90% of my PC. Basically that's what it is. Well, your VRAM, so use 90% of the RAM in your graphics card is what it's telling it. But it will actually help your performance a lot, even though it's only going to be 5%, but it's just giving it more headroom. It's giving it more VRAM to use your graphics card more efficiently, basically. But with that said, that is literally every setting in the game, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you want to stick around, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because I'm dropping class setups as soon as I have the guns leveled up. With that said, I will see you in the next video. I'm out.